Okay. Okay, students, now continuing with the first chapter, in which we have read yesterday about the meaning of management, that says management is a process of getting things done through others, right? And it involves actually a series of steps, right? In this, the process of management begins with your planning, organizing, staffing, directing, and controlling, right? Which are also called as the 5 functions of management. After that, we have read the features and importance of management. Fine. Now, we were at the discussion of management, that is the nature of management. Management is sometimes considered as your science, it is considered as your art, as well as it is considered your profession. Now, we have already discussed that why it is art or why it is science. Fine. Tomorrow, we will be continuing with management as profession, that why management is considered as your profession. Fine. Okay. Now, the first point is in this says well-defined body of knowledge. Well-defined body of knowledge. That means in profession, we have got a systematic body of knowledge available, which is used to acquire its knowledge. Right? In profession, we have got the systematic knowledge available. Profession is a doctor practices, like, right, he's in a profession, fine. So in order to become a doctor, one needs to undergo a 5-year course, MBBS course he needs to do. For that, he needs to have the proper knowledge in order to practice that profession. Similarly, in case of management also, we have got a systematic body of knowledge available. Like we have already discussed that various books are available in case of management, in finance, right? Management in case of marketing, human resource, etc. So we can say that this feature of profession, that in profession, a systematic body of knowledge is there, a well-defined body of knowledge is there. This feature is present in case of management also, right? That's why management is considered to be a profession. Now, the second point says restricted entry. The second point is restricted entry. See, in order to practice any profession, you need to have some degree for that, right? For example, if you want to become a CA, you need to have the degree. If you want to become a CS, you need to have a degree. If you want to become a doctor, you need to have the degree. But in case of management, right, till now, no as such education or as such qualification or no specific degree is being required. But very soon, we are preferring people who are highly educated, who have done very good courses, right? So at present, this feature of restricted entry is not there in case of management, but very soon it would be included. Currently, it's not there. Anyone can become a manager if he has the necessary skills. But in today's world, we are focusing on academics a lot, right? So those people who are having sufficient knowledge, who are having the degrees, would only be preferred. Fine. At present, this feature of profession is not present in case of management, but very soon it would be included. Right? So if we talk about the current era, this feature will not be found in case of management. Anyone can become a manager, anyone can practice management if he has the required knowledge and the skills. No specific degree has yet been prescribed. Fine. Then the third point is your professional association. Professional association. It says that every profession is associated to some of the association, right? Every profession is affiliated to some of the association. But at present, in management, you will not find the much association. But at present, we are having some of them, like we have AIMA, All India Management Association. That is for your management, right? But in the current situation, not everyone is required to be affiliated to this association. Fine. Similarly, This feature of profession is not present in management, but very soon it could be included, as so many management associations are being set up. But till now, it's not compulsory to be a member of it in order to practice management. And in order to be a part of management, you need not to be affiliated to this. But in future, it might be a compulsion on us. It might become a rule that you need to be a member of such type of association. Right? So this feature of profession for now is not present in case of management. Now the next point is ethical code of conduct. Ethical code of conduct. It says that in every profession, you will find a set of code of conduct which needs to get abided by every person of that profession. By every member of the profession, every member of that profession needs to abide to a code of conduct that has been laid down by that profession. Fine. But in case of management, no such code has been prescribed yet. They need not to follow any code of conduct for now. But again, very soon, it could be laid down for the managers and they need to follow it up. Fine. So at present, this feature is again not present in case of your management. And the last point is your service motive. It says that the major objective of any profession is to give or to render services to its members. Like a doctor wants to treat his patients. Fine. So the motive behind that is rendering services to its members. In case of management, the major objective is earning profit, but the secondary motive is somewhere rendering services to the people, to the employees, to the society. Fine. Service motive has always been there in case of business. So we can say that this feature of profession is present in management. So we have found only the two features of profession being there in case of management. So we can say that management is actually partially it could be called as your profession. It could be completely called as your science, but not complete profession. Fine. Now you can note down these points, and any explanation that you want to write, then you can write it down. Now moving on to the next topic, that is the levels of management. What the different functions that the different levels of management plays is a very important question for you, right? That write any 5 functions of your top level management, write any 5 functions of your middle level management. This is an important question, so please go through it. Now coming to the next topic, that is levels of management. The first one is your top level management. Now what is top level management? Top level management is that level of management which comprises the senior most executives of the company, right? It comprises of senior most executives of the company. It basically covers your leaders and directors. It covers your leaders and directors, the person that has the maximum authority over the company. Top level management basically comprises of those people who has got the maximum authority in the company. They can take the decision on their own. They used to set up the goals of the organization. They used to formulate the policies for the organization. Fine. So that is the main role of the senior most executives of the company, in which we will find our leaders, we will find our directors, CEO, chairman, etc. These are the people who has got the maximum authority in the company. Now, talking about its functions, what is the role that the top level management of the company plays? Now, First of all, it set up the goals, objectives for the whole organization. That is the main objective of the top level management. That what is the objective behind running its business activity? First of all, that would be formulated, right? So, setting up goals, objectives, formulating plans and policies in order to achieve them. Then, coordination, coordinating the activities of people and different departments. In our organization, we are having different departments. So, the coordination work has been given to the top level of management. Coordinating work of different departments. Then, in the third chapter, we are going to read about the business environment, right? So, the analysis of the business environment, the changes that are taking places in your business environment and incorporating them in our own business is another role of your top level management, right? They used to analyze the business environment, that what changes are taking place, be it in your social environment, your personal environment, whatever the changes are taking place. Your political environment, social environment, technological, legal, right? All the 5 types of environment that we have got, whatever changes are taking place, we need to be in knowledge of them, right? We need to have the knowledge of them, and accordingly, we need to prepare the plans in order to accept those changes. Fine. So that is again the role of your top level of management. That is analysis of business environment. Fine. Now you can learn any 5 functions of your top level management from your books. Now moving on to the middle level management. Now middle level management is that which acts as a linking pin between your top level management and your lower level management. We have your middle level management, and what is that? It acts as a linking pin between your top level management and your lower level management. That means the top level management is going to formulate all the plans, all the policies, and then those plans and policies would be explained to your middle level management, which is further going to explain to the operational level management, right? That means it is acting a linking pin, it is acting a link between, a mediator between your top level and your lower level. Fine. The second main objective of this is to find the requirement of employees, that how many employees are required in our organization. For that, we used to conduct the workload analysis, workforce analysis. If you remember, we have studied this in chapter number 6, that is your staffing, right? So, the finding the requirement of the employees is again the role of your middle level management. Fine. The next point says it motivates the person in the organization. It motivates persons in the organization. Person means the employees in the organization. Fine. And it basically covers all your departmental heads. All your departmental heads would come under the category of middle level management. Purchase department head, sales department head, marketing department head, finance department head, etc. Fine. In the exam, you can a case study would be given to you, and you will be questioned that it will come under which level of management. First, you have to identify that level of management, and after that, you have to write the function. So you need to learn the examples also, that CEO, chairman, director, they would be coming under top level management. In middle level management, we have all the departmental heads. Fine. So this is the main role of your middle level management. Write it down. Now, if we talk about supervisory level management or your lower level management, Now, supervisory level of management is that level of management which is in direct contact with the employees, right? They have to get the work done out of the employees, right? So they are in direct contact with the employees. So their major role would be to ensure healthy working environment for them, fine, because we need to get the work done out of them. So we need to provide them healthy working environment. We need to solve all their queries, all their problems related to the working area. Fine. Any kind of suggestion that is being offered by your subordinates or your workers are welcomed by the lower level management, and that is further recommended to your top level management. Fine. The major objective of supervisory level of management would be to remain in touch with the workers. They would be explaining the objectives, goals, plan, policies of the organization to the workers, so that they can know that what exactly they are required to do in the organization. Fine. And for this, they have to provide them good working conditions. They need to be in regular touch with them. Find any kind of suggestion, they need to listen that, and they need to forward it up, so that the top level management can have some good ideas also. That is a main role of your supervisory level of management. Fine. Okay. Now in this examples, we have supervisors, we have clerks, etc. Fine. Okay. Now you can write it down. Now the last topic that we are going to study is your coordination. Okay. Coordination is an important concept, important topic for you, right? So go through it very, very carefully. Now, what is coordination? Coordination means synchronization of efforts of different departments or activities. What do you mean by coordination? Coordination means when we are synchronizing the diverse efforts in our organization, the diverse efforts of the employees, that when they are being synchronized, right, then we call it to be coordination. That means bringing together all the resources of the organization in order to achieve the desired goals, in order to bring harmony in them, right? Bringing together all the necessary resources and bringing harmony in them, so that we can achieve certain goals would be termed as your coordination. Right? So the definition you need to write is, it is a process of synchronizing the efforts of different departments or activities. Okay. Now we are having certain features of this. The certain features of it, it integrates employee efforts. It integrates employee efforts. See, let's understand the example. Suppose that you are planning a surprise birthday party for one of your friends, right? Now, you are total 10 friends. Fine. Now, all 10 of you need to coordinate yourself. You need to coordinate your activities properly, so that you can, the surprise plan that you want to, just wait for a while. So we were at the example that, okay, now we were at the example that suppose you are planning a surprise birthday party for one of your friends, right? Now you are total 10 friends. Now all 10 of you need to coordinate your activities properly, so that the plan that you have, it can be executed successfully. Fine. Now for this, you need to divide your work properly. You need to tell each one of your friends that what they have to do. Some of them would be bringing some materials from the market. others would doing the rest of the work, right? Each one need to be clearly stated that what work they are required to do in their group, so that there is no duplication of work. Suppose you were not coordinating with each other. So one friend decided to bring cake, other friend also decided to bring the cake. So there was actually duplication of efforts, there was duplication of work, and there was wastage of money in this case. Why? Because there was lack of coordination in your plan. Your plan got executed, but it was not at all executed successfully. Why? Because some of the work were performed twice or thrice in your group, right? And some of the work was left. So there was lack of coordination in your plan. And that's why we need to synchronize our efforts together. We need to bring harmony in our work so that we are able to achieve our goal properly. So the first feature of this is that it integrates employee efforts. All your friends were working in different directions, right? So if they were ready to coordinate their activities with each other, then what will happen? They would be able to coordinate their efforts also. It would help them to integrate the diverse employee efforts. Means that different efforts, the efforts that were in different directions, they can now be given a united direction, right? They would be given a one specific or a particular direction to work on. And this is possible because of coordination. The diverse efforts of the employee can be united and they would be working in one specific direction because of the concept of coordination. Fine. Then the second point says that there should be unity of, the second point says that it ensures unity of efforts. Unity of efforts means that the different departments that are there in your organization, right, they need to work in a united manner so that they can achieve the goal of their organization in a well coordinated manner. Ensures unity of efforts means unity of efforts of different departments that are there in your organization. And integrate employee efforts means the employee who are working in different direction, they should be given one united or one specific direction so that they are able to achieve the goal of their organization. So the first point talks about the employees' efforts and the second point talks about the departmental efforts. Suppose you are manufacturing this marker in the market, right? But the marketing department who is in contact with the customers, they have not told the purchase department that the quality of marker is not at all good. The customers are not at all liking the product. That's why the sales of the company is very less. This is the duty of marketing department to keep on updating your purchase department and your production department to produce the good according to the taste and preference of your customer. But the marketing department has not done so. Now what will happen? The purchase department would keep on purchasing the same type of raw material. The purchase department, they will keep on producing the same type of market. And what will happen? The sales department is going to suffer in this because their sales will suffer a decline. It would affect the revenue of the company. So not only the people who are working in your organization need to work in a coordinated manner, but also the departments that are being there in your organization, they also need to coordinate with each other. Fine, because it is a synchronization of efforts of all the organization, not only of the employees that are there in your organization. Fine. Now, the third point says it's a continuous process. The process of coordination is continuous in nature. Why? Because every time we need to coordinate the things. Like in the case of your example of birthday party that you have planned, you need to coordinate the things right from the beginning till the end. Like when you were planning that what work would be distributed among the 10 people, 10 of your friends, then we need the coordination. When one person was going to the market, he needed to coordinate with the other friends that this much amount I'm going to spend on the purchases. The next friend group, they were engaged in making all the arrangements. Okay, right? So they need to ensure that everybody knows well in advance that what amount they are going to spend on the arrangements, so that sufficient amount is left with them to give them gift also. So if whole amount is spent on one particular thing only, like buying a cake, you have spent the whole amount in buying that particular cake only, then you will not be having the funds in order to prepare the rest of the arrangements. Fine. So it's a continuous process. It is required every time. Fine. Then the next feature of this says that it is pervasive in nature. Pervasive means it is required everywhere in all the types of organization. A profit-making organization needs to be coordinated. Similarly, non-profit making organization also needs to be coordinated. It is required at all the levels of the organization, be it your top level, middle level, or your lower level. It's not that top level needs to be coordinated, but all the levels of management needs to be well coordinated. Fine. Then the fifth point says it is the responsibility of all managers. It is the responsibility of all the managers, be it your top level managers, middle level managers, or your lower level manager. All the three managers, all the managers that are working at the three different levels, they need to coordinate all their efforts, they need to coordinate all the activities in the organization so that there is harmony in work and there is timely achievement of the goal in a systematic manner. Right? Coordination is not just the responsibility of the top management, but the middle level management, or that means in middle level management we have read who comes under middle level management? Departmental heads. Right? Purchase department head needs to coordinate with production manager needs to coordinate with the sales, etc. Fine. Similarly, the lower level managers needs to coordinate with each other. It is also the duty of the lower level manager that all those workers who are there under him, they are well coordinated. There is synchronization in efforts because the lower level management has got the duty of getting the work done out of the worker. So the workers who are there with him, they need to be well coordinated. There should be unity of their efforts. They should not be working in different directions. That means their efforts should be united in a proper manner. They should not be working in different directions. That means the diverse efforts of the employee needs to be coordinated. Like diverse efforts means that everyone is working in different directions. This should not happen in the organization. Fine. Okay, now you can write down the features of coordination. Now talking about the importance of coordination. Growth of organization. That means as the size of the organization grows, we need to coordinate the things. That is the importance of your coordination, right? That as and when the size of your organization is growing from small scale, you are turning to large scale. Obviously, there would be need of coordination because when you are working at a large scale, right, you need to coordinate all your efforts, all your departmental activities, everything. Fine. Then the next point is your functional differentiation. Functional differentiation. That means whole organization is divided into different functions. Like we have read about the functional structure in case of your organizing chapter. This says that whole organization is divided into different functions: purchase, production function, marketing function, finance function, etc. And there are a group of activities under each of these departments. Fine. So when the whole organization is divided into different departments who are having a set of activities under them, then there is a need to coordinate the things. Fine. Then arises a need for coordination, right? The activities that are being grouped under different departments, they need to be well coordinated with each other. Fine. Okay. Then the next point is it helps in specialization. Coordination helps in specialization. Obviously, you will get the benefit of specialization if your efforts, if your activities are well coordinated with each other. Fine. So this is all about the chapter number 1, that is nature and significance of management. It was a very last topic of your chapter, which is very, very important. Please go through it carefully. Fine, thoroughly you need to read it out. Please write down the importance. After this, we are starting second chapter also. Right? Okay, students, please write down or take out second chapter in your books. Chapter number 2 is your principles of management. Now, what is the meaning of principles of management? See, principles of management are actually the statements of fundamental truth, right? They have been defined as the statement of fundamental truth that tells you that how the work should be performed in the organization. It helps you to take the decisions in the organization. That is the importance of your principles of management, right? We have got different principles of management. Like Payal has given his 14 principles of management, and they all tell us that how should the work be performed in the organization. When you are carrying out work, then in what manner should it be done so that you are able to achieve your goals. All we need to do is to achieve our goals. The efforts that we are putting in is all because of the goal that we want to achieve, right? So these principles of management, they are going to tell you that how work should be performed in the organization. They are thus defined as the statement of fundamental truth that act as a basis for your management, action and decision making. They help you to take the decision in your organization. Obviously, these principles are of so much importance that you will find their importance even in your practical life. Like if this is a situation and this is a principle that I'm going to apply, then the results would be very nice or in favor of you only. Because these principles are derived after so much of the experience and experimentation, right? They actually talks about the logic rather than the blind faith on the things. So this is the importance of the principles of management that we are going to read in this chapter. Fine. So we can define them as these are the statement of fundamental truth that helps in managerial action and decision making. They are defined as these statements of fundamental truth. Why? Because they have been derived after experimentation. They are not based on blind faith. They are actually based on experience and experimentation. They are not based on blind faith. That's why they help you to take scientific decisions in your organization, which will be for sure going to be very, very successful or in the favor of your organization. Fine. So that is termed to be the principles of your management. And they help you to know that how work should be performed in the organization, right? Like we have different principles. They all will tell you that how the way in which the work should be carried on in the organization. And if you follow these principles, then it is surely going to help you to successfully run your business activity. Fine. Okay, now you can write down the definition of this. After that, we are going to read the features. Okay. Now, the first feature Now the features of your principle says that these have got universal application. What do you mean by universal application? That means the principles of management are universally applicable. It is applicable in all the types of organization, right? At all the levels of organization, they are applicable in all the sectors, be it your public sector, be it your private sector, be it your large scale organization, be it your small scale organization, be it profit making or non-profit making. It is universally applicable everywhere, right? No matter what is the size of the organization, what is the type of organization, fine, and no matter what is the scale of your organization. Then the second point is general guidelines. One most important thing, that these principles of management are just guidelines for you. They are not going to provide you with a ready-made solution, but they can only help you up, they can only guide you up. Like we teachers are here to teach you. We can only teach you, we can only explain you things, but we cannot attempt your paper. You have to solve your paper by yourself. You have to remember the things by yourself. You need to go through all the chapters by yourself. We are here only to help you, to guide you, not to provide you with the results that you have got this much of the result in BSc. Right? We can only act as guide for you. Similarly, the principles of management are also just guidelines for you that will tell you that what would happen if a particular situation arises and a particular principle is applied. Right? Okay. Now the third point is that they are flexible in nature. The principles of management are flexible in nature. That means they are not rigid statements, right? They can be, they are flexible in nature. They can be molded up according to the situation. Fine. They are not rigid in nature. Fine. Then the fourth point says they are behavioral in nature. That means the principles of management affects the behavior of the human beings, right? That's why they are said to be behavioral in nature. Fine. These principles actually deal with the human beings. These principles affect the behavior of the human being. That they tell us about the behavior of the human being. That's why they are said to be behavioral in nature. Fine. Then the next point says it is based on cause and effect relationship. That means these principles tell us that what would be the effect of the particular principle that you have applied in a particular situation. Like we have got the principle, so many principles that we are going to read out the explanation. One of the principle is principle of division of work. This says the work should be divided into smaller jobs and then it should be assigned to the people according to their interest and qualification. So when they will keep on performing the same job in a routine manner, then they will get the benefit of specialization in that. They would become specialized in that after a period of time. Like I have been teaching BST for the last 5 years. Right? After some more period of time, I would become specialized in this. Right? Because I'm performing the same job in each year. So it will give me the benefit of specialization. Fine. So this is your based on cause and effect relationship. It tells you that if a particular principle is applied in a particular situation, what would be the effect of it. Fine. Then the next point is that it is formed by practice and experiments. These principles are actually formed by practice and experiment. That is why they are said to be logical in nature. Fine. Every principle that is being derived, they are actually based on the experiences of some people. They are actually based on experimentation. Continuously, these principles were applied in different situations, and then the results were recorded. And after that, they only took the shape of a principle. Fine. So these principles are logical in nature. They emphasize on logic rather than blind faith. And if you take any decision based on these principles, then it would be scientific in nature. Fine. So these are some of the features of principles that we have read. Now you can write it down. One more feature is there, that is contingent. Contingent means these principles of management depend upon situation to situation. Fine. These principles are said to be contingent in nature because they depend upon the situation that is prevailing in your organization. Fine. Okay, now moving to importance of it. Now the first importance says providing managers with useful insight into reality. Providing managers with useful insight into reality. Insight means what? Insight means a look. So these principles of management are going to tell your managers that how to deal with the real world problems. How to deal with the real world business problem. These are defined by your principles of management because they act as guidelines for you. They tell us that how or in what manner the work should be performed in your organization. Fine. So that's why these principles are provide managers with useful insight into real world situation. Insight means a look into real world business situations. Fine. Now the second point says optimum utilization of managers. Optimum utilization of resources. Now, these principles of management, they help the manager to foresee the cause and effect relationship of their decision. That whatever decision they are going to take, what could be the effect of it? What would be the result of it? Right? These principles help the manager to foresee. Foresee means to think in advance, to anticipate in advance that what could be the cause and effect relationship of their decision, and hence the wastage that is associated with the resources would automatically get minimized. Right? Like if you will apply this principle in your organization, then this would be the result. Fine. So the wastage that could have been there in your organization would get reduced if you are able to see the cause and effect relationship of your decision, and that is being given by your principles of management. That are the statement of fundamental truth. That are your guidelines. That how the work should be done in the organization. Fine. So this way it helps you to have optimum utilization of resources in the organization. The wastage would automatically get minimized when you are able to foresee the cause and effect relationship of your decision. Fine. Then the third importance is scientific decisions. Now, as I have told you earlier, also these principles of management emphasize logic rather than the blind faith. So if you are taking your decision based on these principles, then they would be scientific in nature. They are surely going to help you because they are not based on hit and trial method. Rather, they are based on experience. Rather, they are based on experimentation. So the decision that you are going to take on the basis of these principles would be scientific in nature. Fine. Then the fourth point says, meeting changing environment requirements. Meeting changing environment requirements, because these principles are flexible in nature, they are not at all rigid. So whatever change is taking place, you can easily opt those changes, right? Because these principles are not at all rigid statement, rather they are flexible in nature. So whatever change that is taking place in your business environment, you can easily opt that. Fine. Now we will discuss about the principles of Fayol. The 14 principles of management that Henry Fayol has given to us. We are going to discuss them along with the case studies that we have. Fayol's 14 principles of management. The first one says division of work. Right? This principle given by Fayol says that the whole work of organization should be divided into smaller jobs, and then each person should be assigned. First of all, it says that the work should be divided, and after that it should be assigned to the people. And while assigning, make sure that you are assigning them according to the interest of the people, right? According to the qualification of the people. Fine. Then it would result into the benefit of specialization. Then what will happen? You will have the benefit of specialization in your organization. Like application of this principle in your school, like the different subjects have been divided among different teachers according to their qualification and their interest. Like I am given BSc in accountancy because I am having interest. The other faculty is given that the work should be divided into smaller jobs, then it should be assigned according to the qualification of the people, according to the interest area of people. Now, what will happen? It will help you to have the benefit of specialization. When the work is divided according to the interest area of the people. Right? Okay. Like as I have given you the example of your school only, in which the subjects have been divided among the teachers according to their interest area and their qualification. Right? So it has resulted into the specialization in the organization because each teacher has been given work according to their interest area only, according to their qualification only. So automatically it has resulted into specialization in the organization. Fine. That is the application of the principle of division of work in your organization.